lovely people, my name is Emma and today I'm going to be doing a book review for the book Tamed by Alice Roberts. This is one of my 360 book reviews where I try and give you a 360 review of a book in 360 seconds. So this is a non-fiction archaeology slash paleontology slash anthropology book that is looking at 10 distinct species that have been impacted by and have impacted the evolution of human civilization. So by this I mean that it's a collection of animals and plants that we have domesticated or cultivated and therefore tamed in some way, and in doing so it has been instrumental in the development of humanity. So the book is broken into 10 distinct areas that look at each of these animals or plants kind of specifically, but it is loosely going through history as it does it. Alice Roberts I think is a wonderful writer. I would really heavily recommend this book. I think she's a very light touch when it comes to conveying information. There's a lot packed into this book, but at no point does it feel bogged down and heavy. Also, the fact that each one of the chapters is looking at a completely distinct either animal or plant means that you can treat it almost like a collection of almost like essays, or as each one being kind of a distinctive episode, so it does lend itself to being sort of worked through at quite a nice pace. At no point are you feeling like if I stop now I'm going to kind of lose the thread. Now there is a fair amount of repetition in some ways because the process of domestication or cultivation has been quite similar in a lot of cases. However, I think Alice Roberts does a really good job of dishing out the information so that each new one you get a little bit more, and it also does cover some of the differences between animals that we have actively tried to domesticate or animals that kind of have more domesticated themselves by interactions with us. The examples of that being like horses we actively domesticated, but dogs and wolves kind of just came along for the ride. It also does a really good job of looking further forward into the future of what the domestication of these animals and plants kind of involves with the increase of technology. You know, history is constantly happening. We're never stagnant, and there have been various advances in things like genetic modification that will be changing how we're interacting with some of these species. A really good example of this is the genetic modification that is happening with chickens, and also with some of the plants where it makes the plants no longer fertile, so you are locking farmers into only being able to buy your seed sources, which kind of ends up having lots of connotations for capitalism and sort of the way that the markets grow and the way that that can build power imbalances into your societies. It's interesting because it does mean that you are exploring that line between what is the difference between purposefully breeding animals or plants to have specific traits, or going in and actually manipulating those genes themselves, and what are the dangers there when we don't understand how some of these have been expressed, and what are the knock-on effects of this. A good example of that being when we have bred for certain things in dogs and we've also done it more for aesthetic purposes, it comes with a whole load of health risks for the animal going further down the line. Like I said, I think Alice Roberts' writing style is really lovely and light and easy to read. I think that this is a good starter book if you're interested in anthropology and like really like prehistoric history, but it's also one that I think if you do have a background in this area, because it is looking at so many different species, you're going to find something that you didn't necessarily know about. And again, that bringing it forward to the modern day means it is keeping it kind of contemporary and fresh, so it is going to be including information that you potentially haven't heard about before and are interested in learning more about and from. I would recommend this book if you like things like Sapiens but wanted something that is a little bit more accessible and not quite as long, or if you are somebody like me who likes learning about paleontology but wants to bring it slightly earlier and more towards contemporaneity and looking at really like early humans. So I think that it fits into a lot of different areas there. I also think this is going to be a really strong jumping off point for if you then want to find other areas to explore, because it, like I said, it isn't just talking about prehistoric, it is looking at how these things have evolved over the years. So there's lots of different areas to kind of jump off to. Alice Roberts is also a fairly prolific author. This is one of her first like big full-length books, I believe, but she has written some other stuff and been a contributor to other books that are out there. She's also been linked, she's like a broadcaster for the BBC, so she has a bunch of different documentaries, including, I believe, one that is heavily linked with this particular book. She also, as a complete side note, has a really lovely episode of the Infinite Monkey Cage podcast where she is one of the guests that I will link down below, because it's her talking about anthropology and the lens that we look at anthropology and the way that the viewer is really important in looking at kind of our interpretations of the past, and the importance of having a diverse range of viewpoints looking at that past. So like I said, this is one of my favourite books of the year. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it's a really great starting point if you are interested in anthropology or prehistoric history in general. So I think that's going to be it from me. It's a slightly shorter review than I would normally do, but this is a really wonderful book and I would definitely recommend it to everybody. So with that said, have a wonderful reading week and I'll chat to you soon. Bye!